Stop using the F word with clients. No, not that F word and not fiduciary either. I'm talking the mother of all bad words. And while it may not be vulgar, it is one that is derailing your client process. It's confusing the clients and it's making you look like an idiot, actually. I'm Matthew Jarvis, and I built a $2 million a year practice, and now I make these videos to teach other financial advisors how to match or exceed my success, and more importantly, to avoid all of the many mistakes I made along the way. And one of the mistakes I made for years that I see almost every advisor making is dropping the F word in client meetings. So what is that F word? That F word is fixed income. And in the next 6 bullet points, number 5 is my favorite. In the next 6 bullet points, I'm going to explain why fixed income is such a bad word to use in client meetings and what to do instead, including number 5, which is the script I use in every single client meeting. So why is fixed income such a bad word to use in client meetings? Well, number 1, it is Greek to clients. And this is not disrespect to clients. This is not to say your clients aren't intelligent. They're super intelligent about their area of expertise, not your area of expertise. Fixed income, while sort of like a foundational word to all of us in financial services, typically means nothing to consumers. Even bonds doesn't really mean much. Like they might sort of anecdotally know what that means. But when you say, hey, we have 30% in fixed income, it means nothing to them. It's like when your doctor reviews your blood work and looks at some obscure thing and says, oh, this variable is at 3.2 and it should be at 3.5. What does that mean, doc? Like, what am I supposed to do about that? So the first thing you need to understand is that all industry terminology is Greek to clients. And so never use Greek with clients unless I suppose they're Greek. Number 2, and this is tied to number 1, which is instead of using industry jargon like fixed income, I want you to replace that with marshmallow. Yeah, I said marshmallow, right? The reason I want you to have this in your mind is it makes as much sense to clients when you say fixed income or percentage or standard deviation as if you said marshmallow. And so if you said, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you have 30% of your portfolio in marshmallow, that makes as much sense to them as you saying you have 30% in fixed income. Now, again, this is not meant as any disrespect to your clients. Again, I'm sure they're very smart. It's just the reality of we're in this field every single day, and we use terms that make sense to us, but they don't make any sense to the client. So number 1, remember that fixed income and similar terms are Greek. Number 2, replace all Greek or industry jargon with marshmallow. Now, don't literally say marshmallow to clients, but I just want you to have that in your mind. Number 3, you need to understand why you have bonds or fixed income in your portfolio, period. Now, you might be saying, come on, Jarvis, this is a no-brainer. I have it because it adjusts improves the risk-adjusted return of the portfolio. No. I'm not talking about the theoretical why do we have them. Literally, why do we have bonds in or any kind of fixed income in a client's portfolio? This is something you really need to understand. The reason we have it in there is so that when equities go down, we have stability. Now, if the client has enough time on their side, in other words, they can ride out a bear market, they don't need any fixed income. Simply ride it out. But when they're taking distributions, especially in retirement, or when they're going to have some kind of cash flow need, we need bonds in place so that we have access to capital when, not if, the markets are down. And so it's not about improving some risk-adjusted return. It's not about some risk tolerance questionnaire. It's simply a matter of cash flow. And I always like to say that Murphy's Law of Investing, and by the way, I say this to clients all the time, Murphy's Law of Investing is that when you need money, the markets will be down. And the more you need the money, the further down the markets will be. And I mention that to clients again and again and again because it resonates with them. It resonates with them that this is why we have bonds in the portfolio. Here's number 4. You need to understand, and your client needs to understand what risk is and what risk is not. Risk is not the market going down 30% or 40% or 50%. That is not risk. That's just volatility. That's a timing issue because we know that all previous declines have recovered. And so our risk is that we don't have enough time for the market to recover. It's not that the markets will go down or that they'll go down a lot. That's a given. The risk is that we won't wait long enough. The risk is that the market will go down and that the client will either panic or they'll have a pressing need for cash that can't wait until the markets recover. And so they sell when the markets are down. And so by understanding that risk is really all a matter of timing, not a matter of volatility, it changes the whole game for them and for you. Number 5, and this one's my favorite. This is a script I use in every client meeting, which I describe fixed income as years in the war chest, years of income in the war chest. And so when we're looking at a pie chart of their investments, what would be called fixed income, right? Bonds and cash. I mark that and I say, hey, this is our war chest. This is where we take your monthly distribution. This is where we would take any unexpected distributions. And then each calendar quarter, Mr. and Mrs. Client, we're going to look at your overall portfolio. And if the markets are up, we're going to replenish that war chest, which is, I'm alluding into number 6 here, but we're going to replenish that war chest. That way we always have 5 years of income, 5 years of income. Now, for my advisor friends, let's think about 5 years of income. If they're doing 5% a year distributions for easy math, 5 years of income would be 25%. So we're at a 75-25 portfolio. So instead of saying 75-25, I'm going to say, hey, we have the majority of our money invested in the world's greatest companies, and we keep about 5 years of that off to the side so that you always have 5 years worth of income. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Client, why 5 years? Well, let's rewind the clock. Let's go back to the financial crisis, which started at the end of 2007, but really got going in 2008. So we have 2008, I have my handout here. We have 2009, the markets kept going down, but they started coming back up. They went up in 10, they went up in 11, and they went up in 12. So we have 5 years here. Now, in 2012, was the market back to where it was before the financial crisis? No, it wasn't. That wouldn't happen for many years later. But did a 5-year buffer get us through the worst of the financial crisis? Yes, it did. And would 5 years get us through the worst of any other crisis? Yes, it would. So listen to this, my advisor friends. Instead of talking about percentages, I'm talking about years of income. Now, if a client says, hey, whatever we're facing right now, I don't think 5 years is going to be enough. I said, great. How much would be enough? And if they say, you know what, 6 years, that would be enough. Okay, perfect. Let's make it 6 years. Now, if they say 20 years, well, if we put the whole portfolio in bonds, in fixed income, we'll never recover. Like we'll never get enough growth. And that's a discussion for a different video. So let's go to point number 6, which is I never say rebalance. I always say replenish. Replenish. Why does this matter? Well, we are rebalancing on the technical term, but when we're rebalancing, what we're doing is refilling the war chest. This is especially true for clients that are taking income, right? They're pulling down their cash and bonds on a monthly basis or whatever frequency they're taking distributions. And on a quarterly basis, we're looking to replenish that war chest. In other words, we want to get it back up to 5 years. Now, from a logistics standpoint, you need to decide at what market levels you will replenish versus ride that out. And that's a discussion for another day. But with clients, I'm using this terminology replenish. So with these 6 points in mind, never again use the F word with clients. Instead, use years of income in your war chest. Use replenish instead of rebalance. And until next time, happy planning.